Hi friends, it's Stephanie Everett here at the Suburban Chateau, and I'd like to welcome you back for the Christmas in July challenge. Now, when we got back from our Rhine River adventure, I was tidying up the house, doing some things here for the summertime, and a friend of mine posted on Facebook that she wanted to find some crafters for a Christmas in July craft show at one of our local rest homes here. And the thought just occurred to me. I had a lot of things ready to be painted. I had a lot of raw materials to make a few things. If you've been following my channel, you know that I transform vintage picnic baskets. That's one of the things I do. And I use a little bit of a different painting technique to kind of fix them up and make them a little bit different and unique. And so I thought, well, I knew I had some pieces at my antique booth. So I thought, well, I could take those to the craft show that I had made last summer. And then I thought, well, I have the raw materials. Why don't I just make up some things and see if I can do this craft show? So I challenged myself. I responded to my friend I looked back at the email on July 11th. And so I had just a little over 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks to prepare for a craft show. And so I used the things that I already had in my antiques booth that I had made earlier, but I made quite a few items as well. So I got a little crafty and we made it out to the craft show just a couple weeks ago. So I'm excited to share my experience with you. Now, the challenge aspect of this Christmas in July challenge is that I only had 15 days to put together crafts for this crafts show. And I had a lot of the materials that I needed kind of stockpiled. A lot of the things I'm going to be painting on are vintage picnic baskets. And you've seen me on my antiques journeys grabbing them when I see them if they're in good shape. So I had a pile of vintage picnic baskets sitting on top of my piano in the back room. And the good thing was I had a lot of the raw materials, but I just didn't have tons of time. So when I do start working on my hand-painted vintage picnic baskets, the very first thing I like to do is establish a nice base for my painting to go on top of. So I am using folk art paints, acrylic paints, and I do usually have 2 coats of that base color. And here you see me putting on a second coat on a little round basket. So I just like to get started with a good solid base so that when I start my flowers, I'm all set to go. Once everything has that good solid base, then I start to apply the flowers. And I do it in a bit of an assembly line fashion. So if I know I have one particular color that I would like on multiple items, I will do them one after the other. Because the flowers sit next to each other, I have to kind of let them dry. As one color dries, then I'll move on to a different basket. So if I think I'm going to use, for example, the blue flower, which I'm working on here, I just do those all at one sitting and put them on multiple items. There's certain colors I know will work pretty well, and I like to choose kind of a darker accent color and usually white to make my flowers. So I kind of go through. The other thing that's kind of neat, I am using the Donna Dewberry method. I want to encourage you, and I'll say it again in the video, to please watch her videos because she is the master. Everything I've learned is from watching her videos, and she's incredible. So that's where all those flowers come from. It's a Donna Dewberry technique, the one-stroke painting. And then I come in and I do little accent things. So right here, I'm working on like some little salvia and some leaves. And some of this, I will watch a video to see how to do it. Some of it, I just kind of do what I think might work or what I have the paint or the brushes and how that might work to make it perfect. In addition to the baskets, I wanted to have some small items ready for the craft show. So I was looking through my supplies and I had about a dozen of the oyster shells, which I frequently have used to make ornaments. And so I thought, well, I'm going to make some ornaments. So I used that base color of sort of a really light turquoise. And then I always come in with that ruby rose. That's kind of my signature. You guys have seen me paint those before, but I wanted to have a few of those ready for the craft show because they were smaller items. So I thought I'd show you from start to finish the creation of a few roses, although I feel like I've done this so many times, and of course I am not the expert. I would highly recommend that you check out Donna Dewberry's work. This is totally who I learned how to do this from, and I am not an expert at it. I'm just having fun and creating things that I like to look at. And Donna Dewberry is an artist, and that's not, I'm just having a good time. But I do like to use the folk art. I prefer to use those colors. I like to use the multi-surface folk art, if you have ever seen that before. A lot of times you see a lot of the matte folk art. I also use the floating medium by folk art. And then I put that all together. And it's Donna Dewberry recommends the folk art paints just because, as she says, they're a little more fluffy. So I'm going to make some kind of like a turquoise flower for you. And I'm going to put it on two different baskets. It's going to be the centerpiece rose on the one basket and the flanking roses on the other. So I'm going to put you in time lapse. The beauty of how these flowers work is the combination of the mixing of the paint on the brush and getting multiple colors in one stroke, hence one stroke painting. And so you actually start from the base of the flower. And I would really recommend that you watch Donna Dewberry's video so you have a better idea. But that's kind of how I mix together some of the colors. And sometimes I try some different things. This one I tried 3 colors to kind of get a purple center and the pink outside. I was inspired by a rose I saw. But then the lovely thing with the floating medium, if you make a mistake, you can kind of go back over them and start over. And you'll see me do that many times if I don't quite have the paint blended just the way I like it. But that floating medium really helps to kind of coalesce those colors. And even when you have a tough surface, you can add that to it, and then you get a little bit more pliability in the paint. So next I add some leaves judiciously. I kind of go for the less is more concept on leaves. I find leaves are a struggle and difficult, and you'll see me come in sometimes and just totally erase what I have and start over again. But I do enjoy adding those extra touches. That's a lot of fun as well. So I wanted to treat everything that I had worked on with some sort of a sealer. And in this case, I used the Dura Clear High Gloss sealer. And sometimes I use a satin finish, but I have noticed that if you get a little drop of water, it doesn't hold up very well. So for all of my baskets this time, I went for more of a high gloss finish. And I'm pretty pleased with how that turned out. Every single thing I made had 2 coats of gloss sealant at the end. So if you are taking it, it's protected and it's in good shape. So that's what I just sort of sealed everything with that one Duraclear high gloss sealer. Now, when all was said and done, I had 11 baskets to take to the craft show. In addition, I had a purse that I had embellished the top of, and I had this large basket that you see here. I had a dozen or so of the Christmas ornaments, and I had a few enamelware pieces. You might have seen the picture as I was working on that one, and some of these little cute little boxes as well. So I had the enamelware, and then a step stool as well. So that was kind of different. That's something I've never done before. And then it was time for me to make new tags. 5 of the baskets that I brought, I had already had in my antique booth. So I grabbed them out of the antique booth and I re-tagged them for the craft show. And I wanted to make a spreadsheet so I knew everything I had to sell. And I was all set to go once I made up some new tags and priced everything, all set to go. Now I started to haul everything and put it in the car. I wanted to make sure I had everything ready, and I was very worried about unpacking at the venue. And it was a little bit of a Jenga game getting everything into the car, but we managed it. And because the baskets are kind of bulky, I did pack them individually in boxes. Some of them I put in some laundry baskets just to protect the bottom of them. They are vintage baskets, and I didn't want anything to break because I've already made an investment in each basket when I start to paint them. So we loaded up and we headed out towards the craft show. So I didn't have any trouble once I got there. I was able to find a spot to set up. I knew I had a table to set up, and I got all set up and everything fit beautifully. I had a lot of positive comments on my baskets. I was pleased with the outcome. And I knew if I didn't sell them all, I would have them to later put in my antique booth. So that's kind of the plan. But I thought they looked pretty amazing, and there was quite a variety. And we made it to Christmas in July. It was actually on July 26th, but I made it to the craft show and got everything set up, and it was a big success. Well, I hope you enjoyed my experience prepping for that craft show and then, of course, getting set up. And it was a good reminder for me what that craft show experience is like. Last year, I tried out, I do have an antique booth that I've been monitoring all year, and that has turned out to be a pretty cool enterprise for me. I would say I enjoy getting the antique booth just a little bit more than sitting at a craft show. So I will be honest, I didn't sell anything at the craft show, which is okay because everything I made just went right out to my antiques booth and is set up there. And a little later on, I'll be sharing my reset of my antiques booth after the craft show. So a lot of those baskets made it out to my antique booth. It was a good experience. I completely did it for the experience. Could I prep in time? How fast could I get things together if I was on a short notice? And all of those things were successful. And I just don't think it just wasn't maybe the right product for that craft show. The cookie lady next to me, she did great. She cleaned house. So I think they were more interested in cookies than baskets, which is fine. But everything that I made, I was able to go ahead and populate my antique booth with. So we'll be seeing those in a little reset for late summer. And it was just really exciting experience. So I hope you enjoyed watching me prep again for the Christmas in July challenge. Challenge accepted. Challenge was accomplished. So thanks again for coming out to the Suburban Chateau and checking out our Christmas in July challenge.